Monaco, probably one of the best places to go qualify. And after the 2 free practice sessions from yesterday, we really got a good deep dive as to who is quick and who is slow. And Ferrari immediately look quick. But this is prime time as we get ready for qualifying here this afternoon. We are just less than, I would only imagine, 15 minutes away from the start of free practice 3. 13 minutes to be exact. 13 minutes and 43 seconds here until qualifying simulation session gets underway. Practically free practice 3. Let's head it now down to Sky Sports F1 as we build up to FP3.
Because that's the first time we get to see the qualifying chair.
No, mine's still Monaco.
Yeah. Yes, I'm not going to argue. You've done it.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't get any better than seeing these. They're quite big race cars now, being pushed to the limits by the best drivers in the world, touching barriers. Oh.
It is. And we saw a lot of that yesterday, Bernie, but Ferrari, as we're saying, they're just the way the architecture of the car, the sport turbo, their compliance on curbs around the very slow corners really suits this track, it seems.
Yeah, it does suit this track. I think it suits slow speed, medium speed corners, and this track obviously has those in abundance, doesn't have the streets where Ferrari has had the disadvantage, and I think it's going to be all to play for out there. You know, even with the advantage Ferrari have, a single driver mistake on any of the corners around this track will not allow them that chance of pole. So here it is about getting it all together, getting the traffic right, getting the positioning, making sure the tyres last through that quality session, and being fortunate with red flags or yellow flags when they come out.
We know Charles is extremely good round here. He won in 2024, but do not write off Lewis Hamilton. Absolutely not. Not won here since 2019, but has still won here 3 times and on form at the moment, which you said.
It's great to see Lewis on form. You know, last year was not the greatest year for him as he joined Ferrari, but this year he's come alive again, which is really nice to see, and especially on a street circuit like Monaco. To go quickest in FP2 yesterday, these two are going to push each other hard.
Yeah, a quick word though on Fred Vasseur. We wish him get well soon, Fred. He was taken to hospital last night, has remained in there overnight and having further tests today, so he's not going to be at the track, but I'm sure we'll be watching on. So yes, from us all, I hope you feel better soon. Fred, yesterday though, talking of crashes, talking of touching the wall, we saw evidence of that in abundance.
Yeah, you know, and that's what happens at qualifying in Monaco and qualifying in particular. People are pushing the limit, they're edging up to it. And, you know, that's something that's going to be great across 2 Ferraris. Like Jack said, they're going to be pushing each other, trying to get everything out of the car. We've seen it with Hamilton in particular. I think someone maybe suffered the most. We had Lando Norris stopped on track as well with a technical issue. So, the drivers, yeah, exactly. Just come into this corner, the dash goes completely dead. He loses all power in the car. And obviously, you know, McLaren have done a lot of work to change that overnight, but you need to get everything out of this P3 session and make sure that you end it with a car that's ready to win the calling.
They're going to fine for that, didn't they? Because of the clutch release that didn't work, so they couldn't get it out of gear. €30,000 with 10,000 of that suspended. Right, let's get the thoughts of Charles Leclerc after that busy day yesterday.
Well, Charles, a lot of hype about Ferrari coming into the weekend. It looks like the pace is there, look like you're fast, look like you're enjoying yourself. How was your Friday?
Very difficult. We are facing quite a few issues.
Okay, well, I'm going to actually... Are you sure it's just not your phone, Harris? Because your phone can sometimes be a little bit special. Are you sure? You sure about that, buddy? Are you sure about that?
You sure about that, buddy?
My mic sounds completely fine.
You sure about that, buddy?
Completely fine. My mic literally sounds completely fine on my end. I think you're just going schizophrenic, Harrison. Maybe that might just be what it is. Maybe that is just the harsh reality of this. because I can hear myself perfectly fine. The audio is a little bit, it's not ideal, with this big boy, but yep, you are correct. My phone just fully turned off for 2 seconds ago, so I might be cooked. You might be cooked.
We are very.
You might be cooked. You might be cooked, buddy. You might be cooked. But yeah, we'll hand it back down to Sky Sports F1 once Charles Leclerc's interview is done. I'm hoping I could possibly get to record the FP3 session and get it uploaded. Hoping. Let's send it now down to Sky Sports F1.
Fight between the two Ferrari teammates, and Max isn't far away as well. So it was only 1/10 of a second, so nothing to cry about from Charles Leclerc, and he can most certainly fight for pole position today. So we got the side-by-side lined up against Lewis Hamilton from yesterday. He set the fastest time, of course, through turn one, Sandoval. For those of you with a great hearing, you would have heard that Lewis just snuck it down one extra gear through there. Just second gear rather than third gear for Charles. It's the same here for Casino. So Charles is letting the engine just that little bit more. If I just slow it down into this corner, Lewis's balance is a lot more mechanically difficult for him to manage on the rear. Just struggling with the rear, I find, compared to Leclerc's, but a little bit more understeer built into that car around here, which isn't your friend around this section, but comes good at the end. On the exit here, you can see Lewis fighting that rear once again. As you go into the tunnel, just keep an eye on his dash here. Speaking of brake balance, 63 down to 62% he goes before the braking into the Nouvelle chicane. And actually, I'm just going to rewind it there. And we're a little bit short on time, but watch Charles' hands as he goes into the chicane. He just has a bit of oversteers. He goes in a bit too hot, and that bit loses him time compared to his teammate. They were pretty even up until that point. He's now a slight bit behind. Lewis now starts to struggle with the balance a little bit more. That rear working against him here through the right and left. He has a snap oversteer again on the exit there. As we stop it here at the line on the exit, you can see how close Charles managed to get. It's pretty even for them speed-wise through the penultimate corner, Rascasse, and into the final corner as well. Actually, Charles can't make any more inroad into Lewis's advantage, and he hangs on to that 1/10 advantage down to the start-finish line again. So super tight between the two of them. But I am detecting slight different driving styles with gear selection, but also the car balance as well.
Yeah, interesting to see, but as we see all calm in the Ferrari garage at the moment, but as we touched upon, biggest straight scene yesterday, that of Max.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's going to be who gets the lap together around Monaco when you're pushing to the limit. Who puts it in the wall, because that's also possible when you've got 3 drivers within a 10th and a half. They're all going to be pushing each other very hard, and someone's definitely going to step over that limit. But it's really exciting to have these things through there. Mercedes a little bit off the pace, but overnight we've seen them improve, so they could be in the fight as well.
Bernie, tell us about strategy on the pit wall with 2 extra cars there today. Traffic always a problem here, even more so now.
Traffic's always a problem around here. It's a very, very short lap physically. And also it's one that the time gap between the cars is very small. Like let's say the effect of traffic not so bad here with the downforce level that they run, but you're just trying to get that clean lap. We end up here with people running multiple laps to try and get a clean one on the board. We're always reacting to yellow flags or red flags to haven't gone off track. Lots of people change the run program very quickly. So, for example, you might be on a fast lap, suddenly you go bored. So you can't be what we call in phase with all the drivers around you all the time, because all their run plans are changing continuously, and you try and get a lot more laps on the board here than you do anywhere else.
And a big one is communication.
Yeah.
Engineer-driver communication is key to getting that clear lap and staying calm, because Q1 is super busy with 22 cars this year.
Absolutely. Okay, there we go. Just about set there. One further hour of practice ahead of qualifying details for the rest of the weekend. We're live in practice stream.
FP3 live right now, qualifying live tomorrow morning. And of course, race will kick off underway bright and early from 8:15 for a 30-minute build-up for an 8:45 race start. So, Monday morning will be absolutely busy, and the rest of the day will be busy as well, but we're about to get ready for FP3. Full commentary from myself as we get ready for FP3 here this afternoon. of a rush there to get my camera on, but here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Formula One is about to return to the Monaco Grand Prix. This, probably the most artificial race in the world, and known for not much drama throughout a Monaco Grand Prix. But this weekend, I reckon, I have a vibe that it might be a little bit better than normal. 78 laps come Sunday Grand Prix Day, 3.337 kilometres, 2.074 miles. 42 metres in elevation, going, of course, up through Casino Square. The first winner was back here in 1951, one Manuel Fangio, the Argentinian, as well. We have 3 compounds of tyres, the hard, medium, and soft compound tyres, C3, C4, and, of course, the C5, running here this weekend. Of course, for the first time in quite a while, in itself, I will be recording this session. So if you do not want to watch the whole entirety of this session, I will be cutting this down to a little video, and you guys can watch it in video form, to some of my best bits and some of my best reactions to some of this session. So, how we've seen so far this weekend and how we've seen it play out. We've seen, I was about to say Harrison. Wow, that's shocking. I was about Leonard Norris, with a few technical issues come FP2. We saw Fernando Alonso as well in the wall. We also did see Isaac Hadjar in the wall quite heavily, just as about 20 minutes into FP1, so that would have affected him definitely a little bit coming into this session. It would have definitely knocked his confidence back a little bit. But of course, he did have the rest of FP2 to catch up, so he won't be too far behind. But he will be about 40 minutes behind in terms of running throughout the whole weekend. And overall, that can be definitely a big moment. So, in terms of the championship, though, it is about 34 points in the championship Kimi Antonelli has, so over a race win at this point. Harrison saying Travis made his first error. I make many errors, and I've just made another one then. But yeah, Kimi Antonelli at the moment leading by 34 points coming into this round. So quite interesting indeed. Will be interesting to see what happens there. But of course, after George Russell's DNF in the Canadian Grand Prix, would have again very much set back. Yeah, I don't reckon it would have set back George's confidence, but it definitely won't be putting him on the highest of confidence list coming into the rest of the championship. Again, we still do have quite a number of rounds to go. We've got the Barcelona Grand Prix weekend coming up next weekend as well. So loads to look forward to there. Look, Charles Leclerc getting himself suited and booted into the Ferrari machinery now. And loads of Monegasque fans this weekend to cheer on Charles Leclerc. How important it would be for Charles Leclerc to get a podium. Now, again, I didn't say in my prediction video that I made just over 4 days ago now that Leclerc would get a podium. I did say he'd get 4th. So, my prediction, will it be correct? I suppose we'll find out. I did say, though, he would have got 4th, so we'll see. We'll see come the Grand Prix weekend. I also did say that I think Leclerc got 7th for qualifying. So that will be one important point there. Is there, look, Oscar Piastri getting himself ready along with Max Verstappen as well, who so far this year has sort of almost struggled with his car a little bit, as the green light will come on as it is just hit 8:30 local time. And I think at Monaco, it is like 12:30, 1 o'clock in Monaco. So, very interesting indeed there. But it's hit 8:30 local time. So, FP3 will get underway. And like we normally see at the beginning of an FP3 session, not many cars deciding to hit the circuit. I do say that, though. There was just a Formula 3 sprint race out on circuit. So, the track isn't too dusty. It's not too dusty. Coming into the early part of this session. That is Kim Kardashian. What? Kim Kardashian has just walked through the gates of Monaco. That is not something I'd expect. Okay, that's interesting. That is very much interesting. Few Charlotte Leclerc fans. Yeah, I know. Kim Kardashian. Would you have expected? I certainly wouldn't have expected that. It's not the strangest thing that will happen all weekend. I'm assure you that one. I'm going to assure you that one. Esteban Ocon still has not jumped inside his car, so we'll see what happens with him as I try to find the track map. There we go. There we go. As the teams continue to prepare some of the cars, we do have 2 cars out on circuit. Is F1 that desperate right now? Yeah, yeah, I think F1 is really that desperate. Do they really need Kim Kardashian at the Monaco? How much have they paid Kim Kardashian to come to the Monaco Grand Prix? How much? How much is the bet? How much? Look, F1 probably would have paid Kim Kardashian a load of money. A load of money. Now, the difference to another type of FP3 session is that we've actually had a F3 race out there. So the track isn't as dusty. The F3 cars would have got the worst of any sort of dust that would have been sitting on the racing line from overnight. So that's why you are seeing about 5 cars out on circuit. We've got Alonso, Stroll, Leclerc, and Hamilton. I can also back that up with one of the Red Bulls that have just come out onto the circuit. As far as I'm aware, though, that is the only 5 or 6 cars that have hit the circuit so far. So still not many people deciding to hit the circuit. And as I said a few moments ago, there has been an F3 sprint race that has just sort of cleared the circuit a little bit in terms of any dust. They did, I think it was like a 22, 23 lap sprint race. And definitely not as dramatic as what last year's race was in terms of Porsche Mobil 1 Super Cup. Just think back to last year, Porsche Mobil 1 Super Cup actually had a monumental crash on the exit of Santa Vot. So, same with F2. I don't think F3 was that. Don't think F3 was that bad. As we run on board now with Fernando Alonso making his run now down towards the Grand Hotel. Of course, the hairpin, the very famous hairpin, more or less. Out the other side. I'm going to beat Callan. I have to go. Okay, good luck. Good luck at beating Callan. Come back to me when you beat him. Because that would very much be a laughing... it would very much be worth laughing at. Let me tell you that much. Lewis Hamilton now making his run out of turn number 8, or on the exit, of Mirabeau. On the exit of Grand Hotel. And now to make their run up towards the Nouvelle Chicane, turn 9, turn 10. Then make your run through towards Turbac. And then down towards the swimming pool section. Here, that looked the swimming pool section. Turbac. On the other sides. As the first lap times now start, the first representative lap times start to be laid down. 1:17.2. Again, as I said a few moments ago, F3 had been out on circuit, so it's not as dusty as what it was early on in the weekend. As Lewis Hamilton now goes to the top of the session with the first real representative lap time, 1:15.246. Followed by then, of course, Liam Lawson. Then it is Valtteri Bottas and Fernando Alonso. Charles Leclerc now goes to the top as we head down to Bertie Collins.
And his teammate Bernie.
Of course I was, Crofty, and hopefully to bring you a little bit of insight. Some of the cars not left the garage yet. You did mention the 2 Ferraris out there. 2 Red Bulls, notably still in the garden. You did see Max Verstappen in the back. But what I wanted to show you on this Red Bull, we've discussed a little bit this weekend about straight line mode not being used, of course. And that means that you don't need to activate the rear wing. And many of the teams, particularly McLaren, Mercedes, and Red Bull, have come up with little tricks to add to their rear wing. So hopefully now on your screen you can see the rear wing of the Red Bull, the extra little winglets on the back that they're trying to add downforce onto that car.
There's a lot of smoke and the front brake is burning. Front right, it's getting worse. I'm just trying not to use the brakes. We'll just interrupt Bernie for a moment. Valtteri Bottas reporting smoke from his front right brake, and that's the front right brake issue that affected his teammate Sergio Perez yesterday. Sergio had to stop at Casino Square, couldn't bring the car back to the pits.
And that is definitely a problem there for Valtteri Bottas. And of course, that stopped his teammate from running, as this is Charles Leclerc now making his run up towards Beau Rivage and through Casino Square. Actually, on the entry to Casino Square, Valtteri Bottas slow to the apex of Casino Square, of which is, of course, turn 4 up and down through towards Mirabeau there. So, definitely a problem for Charles Leclerc. And Charles Leclerc actually unaware that Valtteri Bottas has had a problem. Sergio Perez, though, the opposite. Very much not having a problem for Sergio Perez and making his run out through towards Las Casas and then down through towards turn 19, the final corner on the circuit, or more or less as I call it, Louis Vuitton corner, due to the absurd amount of Louis Vuitton signage that is out there at the moment. Kimi Antonelli getting himself strapped in. Of course, he's not hit the circuit yet, as far as I know. No, he has not. Kimi Antonelli has not hit the circuit yet, so we'll see what happens with him with just over 52 minutes to go, as Franco Colapinto now making his run up through towards turn number 9, through the tunnel. Now, the blasting sun as you hit the Novell chicane and out the other side. You can see the marbles on the outside of the circuit there as the drivers exited through the tunnel. And of course, that is from the F3 sprint race. You didn't really get much time. I think you got about 30 minutes to try and clear any sort of marbles off the outside of the circuit there. Franco Colapinto now making his run down towards the hairpin, and Lance Stroll just up in front, obviously unawares of the fact that there is an Alpine sitting right up his rear bumper. Got up the inside through towards turn 9 on the exit of the Grand Hotel hairpin. Sergio Perez on the radio.
Catching fire from the left brake.
So Sergio Perez now catching fire from the left brake. This is very much a problem here. This is not looking good.
The bigger problem, Crofty, is that you have a lot of short, sharp braking zones, but you don't, or physically, have enough straight line speed to cool them back down again. And you're in amongst the barriers, there are buildings everywhere as well, so you don't get a lot of airflow around this track, and they're clearly in trouble there in Cadillac with the front brake.
That is very much a problem indeed, as Sergio Perez now pulled in towards pit lane once more. For certainly will not be the last time this weekend. Charles Leclerc 1:15.1 improves that time around, as Lewis Hamilton improving by nearly a second through the first and second sector, along with Lando Norris, as well as Hamilton very deep in towards Las Casas. Yeah, that was very much a problem, and Hamilton nearly smacked the fence there on the outside of the road, and he's lost nearly a tenth in that process. 1:14.3 though that time around. Of course, this was the sort of lap times we were producing last year in FP1. A year and 1 day ago, these were the sorts of times we were seeing. 1:14.3 there that time around, though, from Lewis Hamilton. Charles Leclerc in second, then it's, of course, followed up by Liam Lawson, Fernando Alonso, and Lance Stroll sitting in P4 and P5 for the moment.
What can they do to sort that brake issue?
Well, first of all, they don't have traffic. You imagine in a race sat behind other cars how difficult it's going to be. They're not going to be able to hit the brakes at all. So it's not easy. They're going to try and open up the brake ducts more, but I don't know if they can within the regulations or what options they have, really. And in the race as well, with the car tanked up, particularly at the start, tanked up with fuel and a heavier cars, you're going to have longer time on the brake pedal. So, the more that your grip goes down, the more you have to lean on the brakes. Wow. Speaking of grip going down, Lindblad was very leery on the exit there in the final corner, and the rears lit up.
Fifth fastest for Arvid Lindblad, 1.1 seconds off the pace. So far, there is a big gap between Hamilton and the rest. Leclerc and Norris matched by a few hundredths. If McLaren can get within a few hundredths of Charles Leclerc later, they'll consider that a job very, very well done overnight, because McLaren just weren't on the pace yesterday at all.
Yeah, they weren't, and obviously they had There are issues. It's never easy when you've just got one car trying to find pace around here. You need the information from both drivers, really.
Information from Lewis Hamilton to Carlos Santi, his race engineer. One lap is not enough to cool the tyres. Understeer creeping in. The track temperature is only 30 degrees, but the steering wheel's always turning here, and cooling tyres is not the easiest thing.
Funnily enough, it's not the fronts I would have thought he would have an issue with getting back under control. You know, you see so many moments around this track where the rear is stepping out on exits. We also can't forget they have so much power now. Immediate power from the combustion engine, but also from the hybrid system.
Yeah, and all out of the corners rather than to the end of the straight where DRS used to kick in. Now that the torque is excessive. Nico Hülkenberg into that Nouvelle chicane.
Speaking of the hybrid systems, we haven't spoken much about the deployment and the energy recovery around this track because
I promised you weren't going to do that this weekend. That's why.
Because it's not a factor around here, but it can be a factor for your brake cooling. Because if the motor generating unit kinetic, the MGUK, if the battery is saturated, that doesn't work anymore. It kind of hands it over to the mechanical brakes, your discs and pads. You see where I'm going with this with the Cadillac. It can then start to overheat your brakes that maybe weren't designed from the starting point to cope with a track like this, because you're relying usually so much on the MGUK to do your braking for you, the electric motor. But if that's out of the equation for a lot of the lap round here, it's handing it over to the mechanical brakes and they skyrocket temperatures.
And it's a massive switch as well in terms of feel for the driver, in terms of braking capability.
I was about to say Liam Lawson looked really, really at home, at ease, and finding the right line through that final sector. Lando Norris has just gone quickest, but Lawson put in a 19.7, which pretty much matched Lando through that final sector. We've got a piece with Liam Lawson coming up in our qualifying show. Don't miss that. It's a great insight into how he spends his days here in Monaco. Honestly, I loved it. At home with the Lawsons, I loved it.
It's definitely something to watch out for.
All Lance Strolls make contact, and we'll have to come in and get that checked out. Are you amazed by the end of this weekend if every driver doesn't report that at some stage they've made a bit of contact with the barrier?
Yeah, it's not really the way, isn't it?
And sometimes it's the team that tells the driver that you must have made contact with the barrier because they touched it and didn't feel it.
Well, apparently the fastest way to go around here, and you two have done it before, is to have a little love tap from time to time with the arm code.
It is not quite like in computer games where you just follow the barrier all the way around. But Max Verstappen just got quickest in the first sector. We're obviously on board with him at the moment, pushing the limits already, isn't he?
And I feel this is the guy out of all of them that could spoil the party for Ferrari this weekend. He was right there, just a tenth and a half behind them, the duo yesterday. And all they need is a little bit more time from car setup, which I'm sure they would have done overnight in the simulation tools back at Milton Keynes. And that's all they need. If he's got a sniff of a chance around this circuit, he's definitely one to watch out for.
As you say, that George Russell just goes super quick in the first sector.
Yeah, well, Mercedes that wasn't going super quick yesterday. But look, on the evidence of what we saw yesterday, Max is A lot happier, and B very much in contention with the front runners. Third fastest as he was yesterday, and within a tenth and a half of Lando Norris for Lewis Hamilton just behind the McLaren.
Yeah, he had a outside front lockup into Raskas, so that cost him a bit of time in the third sector.
At the moment, it looks like George is 4 tenths up. There you go.
At the moment, George Russell is the only one of the 113s as well. For George Russell, has not been on the podium here. Neither has his teammate Kimi Antonelli. George has had 5 more chances to get on that podium. Best place finish of 5th, which he managed in 22, 23, and 24. Lewis Hamilton, meanwhile, has been on the podium 7 times here in Monaco before. One short of the record held by Ayrton Senna. Hamilton crosses the line stage, goes second fastest. Just behind George Russell, 10th between the Mercedes and the Ferrari, and we're on board Lando Norris through the swimming pool entry. Yeah. We've got to be committed through there, chaps.
It's a lot more tense than last year, that's for sure. And that's the part of the track where you'll see it the most, because you're lacking the downforce in this generation of car, which I personally love, because you get to see the drivers working more, and that really shows through there as Lando Norris stays P3, but Leclerc's on a flyer, isn't he? Further down the circuit, fastest middle sector of all.
Kimi Antonelli goes fourth fastest. Sorry, Jensen. Charles Leclerc onto the main straight now. We can pick him up on the main screen. Quickest by a tenth and a half from George Russell.
They're all pumping in the times now, aren't they? The grip is coming down. They're laying down rubber, and we're seeing that. And it's going to continue all the way to the end of the session.
The one who isn't part of the battle on the sharp end is Oscar Piastri, who's just taking his time a little bit to come into this. Has the slowest time on board. He's a little bit out of sync, I think, with everyone else after leaving the garage a little bit later. He's only on his second lap of this session. Nico Hülkenberg has just gone 8th fastest. Liam Lawson in the top 10. Arvid Lindblad was going well now 12th. I'm expecting a bit more from the Racing Bulls today. If there was a car that could be a surprise entry into the top 10 before this race, Racing Bulls, I think I would have had my money on that one. They've been in the top 6 in Monaco 3 times in the last 7 races.
And they were pretty strong in the slow speed corners in Canada as well. You would have thought that would translate to this circuit. So they were a bit of a loss yesterday, and it wasn't really bothering the top 10. But they're back there today. Lawson seems to really be on a mission out there. But their battle immediately seems to be the Audis. Audi's held on to that best of the rest spot yesterday, but good to see Racing Bulls up there now.
So he is. So we've got Sergio Perez and Valtteri Bottas as the 2 slowest cars. Valtteri Bottas is back on the track. Lance Stroll and Fernando Alonso ahead of them. Look, there's the team principal and executive managing partner Adrian Newey back at the racetrack. Great to see Adrian here. He hasn't been to the last few races. We understand he hasn't been 100% either, but I'm told he's feeling much fitter, much better, and great to see him here at the racetrack as well. Plenty of work to be done. Long-term project for Aston Martin, and probably a big spec car coming later on this season, hopefully around the Spa time, to try and sort out some of the issues that had Fernando Alonso yesterday, saying these hybrids, I don't want to be driving these hybrids. Wasn't saying that, and when he was your teammate in WEC all those years ago, was he? Loved the hybrids then.
Yes, pick and choose which hybrid you like or feel like you should be in racing or not. But it's easy to get down when you haven't got the equipment and start blaming, finger pointing, blaming everything around you. But somebody that hasn't got that issue right now is Kimi Antonelli, championship leader, personal best first sector. Let's see how he gets on at the end of the second sector. Fastest overall. So looking a bit better today for Antonelli. He was 5/10 off the pace compared to Lewis Hamilton's best lap yesterday. So Mercedes starting to find a bit more speed. Kimi looking a bit more at home as well.
You saw his dad watching on. Jensen, you were stood there yesterday watching the cars out, the swimming ballers. Kimi Antonelli goes nearly 4 tenths faster than Charles Leclerc. How aggressive was he over that curve on the swimming ball?
Every curve he was very aggressive with. I don't know what the rule is actually on the Nouveau chicane with crossing the white line at the apex.
Well, you shouldn't be allowed to. If you go all 4 wheels over the white line, it should be looked at.
First of all, I was just amazed that his car was capable of doing that, because normally you hit that curve and it bounces you straight off. So they've definitely got good curve riding ability.
In the race, if you cut that chicane and exceed track limits, and gain an advantage, you are to give that place back before you get to that line. We've just gone through the Piastri to back, and if you don't, the stewards are going to have a look at it. And if you go all 4 wheels over the white line in qualifying, well, that is your lap time.
So we won't be seeing, therefore, what George Russell did last year, gaining the position and just accepting the 10-second penalty, was it, at the time, because he felt that he'd get blocked behind.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, thought, I'll just take the penalty because I'll gain track position and pull away by more than 10 seconds. But actually, he didn't, because then we had funny business of teammates helping each other.
Yeah, a lot of that was because of the mandatory 2-stop race that brought in some interesting strategies, shall we say. But yeah, George Russell shouldn't be doing that. If he does do it, and it is thought to be deliberate, I would imagine there's a massive penalty coming his way. On board would like to catch up. And every time he goes through this corner successfully, that'll be another tick in the box there and job well done.
A lot less curve usage from Isaac all around the lap compared to Kimi, being a little bit more gentle, as you would expect, but I'm sure he's going to gain confidence going into qualifying.
That's the problem, isn't it, Chits? When you've had a moment or a crash early on, at any circuit, but mostly here, you carry that negativity almost with you, and you daren't make another mistake through the course of the rest of the weekend. And I feel like Hadjar's driving within himself a little bit there as Russell heads to the line. A 10th down on his teammate, but holds on to that fastest first sector.
21 minutes in, and for all the talk of Ferrari dominance, it's Mercedes 1 and 2. Let's go down to Bernie Collins.
Yes, Coffee. I'm actually watching the cars come through that chicane post and you can see the yellow curve, you see the Haas goes right there. Lots of drivers taking very different amounts of that yellow curve. See the Ferrari quite on top of the yellow curve, really upset in the car on exit. You can actually see on the track on exit, it's not the right line through that curve, for example, but you can see on exit where the cars have actually been impacted the ground. So you can see the little white divots for the front wing. Very slowly on the blue lap there, and it is impressive to see the Ferrari coming much more than curve. The red one on the slow lap, not taking any. The blue Williams also on the slow lap, totally avoiding it. But you can see the more some cars able to ride that curve a little bit more. Very upset on exit, even though the cars have got a little bit slow. Other cars completely avoiding it, making the corner much more aggressive and having to take a much wider line through there. But really interesting corner to watch the differences in the cars.
It's a 1:10.9 last year for Charles Leclerc. That was the fastest time in this session. He's just gone quickest with 1:13.3 with 23 minutes or so gone on this session in 2026. And he's 19 milliseconds clear of Kimi Antonelli, with George Russell, Oscar Piastri and Lewis Hamilton completing the top 5.
And now the ad break city starts. Fun. Oh, no. Oh, yes. Ad break city. See, I was actually about to, I was about to start, playing that again. Look at him. Lucky I didn't. I'm actually going to try and find another live source that I can use. Formula 1. Where is Formula? There it is. Is this going to... Of course. Shocker. It's not going to let me. Actually, I could probably just find, like, a live stream or something. Wait a minute. Wait a flippin' minute. Live timing, baby. That's the joys. That is the joys. We gotta love a bit of live timing. Gotta love a bit of live timing. Gotta love it. Got to love it. I love a bit of live timing. You know? It doesn't show you absolutely everything, but it shows you what you need to know. Here, it even has the fast pole time from 2025, of course, a 109.954. So literally 4 seconds still off the pace of what we saw last year. But again, the track is still not at its best, and of course, where we see the track at its best is when it starts to get about halfway through the race, and even in qualifying, where the cars start really pushing the limits. The radio is absolutely going off right now. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. But yeah, nobody at the moment is improving. Bottas is improving through the first sector. We've got Lawson improving. He's just got up into position 12 or 114.5 if he crosses the line and makes his run now down towards Sandoval and up towards Casino Square. Max Verstappen as well, making his run through Sandoval as well. At the other side, and now making his run up through Casino Square. So, here we look at Lando Norris making his run through Tabac, through the swimming pool section up towards Rascasse. Antonelli on that last lap, all on a slow lap. Pierre Gasly up into position 10, knocks Max out of the top 10 for the moment. As I'm going to head back now to the world feed, if they're still live. As far as I know, they've not come back from their ad break yet. Well, that's just beautiful. Oh, there we go.
We're having a lot of fun watching the drivers around the track here in Monaco today. There's a serious business out there. And he wants some feedback.
So, mid to exit turn 1, you could take less curb and exit turn 12.
He's got the serious business of a pole to try and get this into the chicane. Is what happens when the car in front has cut the chicane. It's just a little bit closer than you expect. Exiting the chicane there for Kimi Antonelli, who had his issues, didn't he, last year at this particular corner, and a very bumpy ride over the curb.
It's amazing how he took so much curb in that instance that it actually helped to pivot the car around, as George Russell has too much rotation in the car.
That's how you pivot.
It helps you pivot, but the biggest problem is it's when it lands. You know, it gets a second bounce if you bounce off that curve too hard, and you can't get the traction down.
Yes, hard to get the traction down with the car, as we saw from the slow-mos, mid-air. Because there's nothing touching the ground. But I think he must have had to take that line because he was distracted from the car in front. I don't think that's the usual line around the Nouvelle chicane. But interesting that, not satisfied with his lap, Kimi Antonelli still asking, where am I losing time to my teammate George Russell? You can see there's a yellow flag out there somewhere that's popped up on the graphic.
Just looking to see if anyone's going slowly or not. Sergio Perez was going through.
So Sergio Perez, they're a little bit slow. The yellow flag briefly making its way out onto the circuit. This is a replay now of Franco Colapinto making his run into Mirabeau in towards the Grand Hotel hairpin. Ooh, locking the rear tyres, and that is a smack to the rear end of Franco Colapinto's car. This, though, look, is Liam Lawson. He's run through to back, through the swimming pool section, and that car spinning sideways ever so slightly and off the curb a little bit.
I got a big one at the swimming pool. I had no idea what happened, but I just got a bump and everything else came up.
Well, that, my friend, would probably be the extremely large curb that is on the inside of the road down there. That is Kimi Antonelli, one of many times this week, and he'll get caught up.
Yeah, copy, saw that.
So Mercedes definitely might just be reporting that to race control. Kimi Antonelli, though, at the moment on the top with a 113.137 over Charles Leclerc. And, of course, it's George Russell, Oscar Piastri, Max Verstappen, Lewis Hamilton. Nice. Then it's Bortoleto in position 8 is now making the run through. It is George Russell through the first sector, improving for the moment. Kimi Antonelli has made his way back towards pit lane. George Russell is improving up through the second sector for the moment as he pounds his way over the curb and now makes his run up through towards the Casino Square. That is George Russell, not very happy into Lascas. Sorry, that was Lascas there. Nearly put the thing in the wall down there. And driver's eye just shows you how close you get to the wall if you run a bit deep into Lascas. If you run a bit deep into Lascas, then you're definitely in trouble. Bortoleto, very nice over the curb as he makes his run through the swimming pool section. Now, under brakes in towards Lascas once more, not improving through the second sector with just over 30 minutes to go. Max Verstappen is improving through the first sector as we speak. As we run on board with the front wing of Max's car, making his run now through towards to back through turns 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Swimming pool section out the other side. This is George Russell. Who was he held up by? It was definitely the Williams up in front. Deep under braking. And it definitely looked a lot closer than what it did, actually, from the driver's eye view. You'd think that the driver's eye view would show a lot worse. Wow, that car was close to going in the barrier. Just giving the marshals there a thumbs up. And that is a slow Oscar Piastri making his run up through Beau Rivage. That's a bit of a problem.
The rear, Bernie Collins into the barrier. How's things looking?
Yeah, Crofty, I didn't see the incident because I don't have a camera in front of me, but I would suggest looking at this rear wing. Slightly more than it's on top. So hopefully you can see the rear wing of the car. It is nowhere near level as what you would expect. So the main blade is not level. It's down on the left-hand side. When it came into the pit stop, both of the end blades of the wing are completely disconnected at the bottom. So just flapping around in the wind. So that's 100% going to be a rear wing change, if not more, for Frank Colapinto there. We're getting into taking it off, but that rear wing does not look in the best of health.
I think is the correct phraseology.
Well, the rear wing's designed to take load from one direction, and as he goes in backwards, it's obviously taking that load the way it wasn't supposed to take it. So, yeah, they're quite easy to break when the carbon is working against its direction. But Sainz there pulled out of shape through the Nouvelle chicane, ran a little bit wide, and that middle sector reflects that.
It's interesting to compare the two Williams, the two drivers' styles on this lap, and the struggles that both seem to be having as they make their way around the streets of Monaco. Carlos Sainz, 3 podiums here in the last 5 years. And a point-scoring finish in Canada last time out, starting on the intermediate tyres, might not have been very foremost in his mind when we finally got racing. It seemed like a decision that you could understand for those in the middle of the pack when the track was wet, but we then lost 6 minutes whilst Lindblad's car got cleared away, JB, and the track dried out pretty quick, didn't it?
It did. Yeah, they're always tricky decisions, but it did look very dry at the start of the race.
It did at the start. I think because it was so cold, people weren't expecting too close to the wall, Franco. If you hit it,
that was perfect for qualifying Q3.
Because it was so cold, people weren't expecting the track to dry, but the wind was absolutely blowing a gale, and that's what called McLaren out. Grand Prix, their hopes are high that they can make amends for Montreal. Zach Brown, the CEO, listening on the pit wall. Zach, late night for the team in the garage last night. Talk us through it. How are you?
Yeah, we had obviously our issue yesterday on Lando's car, and not quite positive what the final issue was. It was battery electric related, so we decided to change everything and precautionary. So the team was here until about 3 in the morning. They did a great job. So looks like we're making some improvements today.
Zach, it's Anthony here. You mentioned late nights for the team here at Circuit. What about back at base, trying to turn things around speed-wise? Was there a lot of sim work going on?
Yeah, always. We were very happy with yesterday. It looks like we've taken a step forward today. Maybe closed the gap a little bit. Still pretty down or pretty impressive. So have some more cut out ahead of us, but I feel like we've got a better race car today.
Hey Zach, it's Jensen.
Yeah, okay, amazing. Thanks. That was very helpful. Speaker just died, unfortunately, and I didn't have the reaction time of a turtle. Well, I did have the reaction time of a turtle, unfortunately. Not what you like to see, but you get that. You get that.
Definitely, we've been trying some different aerodynamic changes here this session, going back and forth between the two drivers. So I think, as you know, if you give them a car that feels a bit more planted, then they'll get it on its nose a little bit more. So I think it's been a combination of giving them a car they're more comfortable with.
Where did you see yourself coming into qualifying, Zach? Is a second row possible today?
I'd like to say yes, but I think that's me being a bit optimistic. I think the Mercedes, the Ferrari, and Max up tough. So I think third row, unless someone makes a mistake, which unfortunately in Formula One they don't do very often. So we'll see. Second row wouldn't shock me, but might be on the optimistic side.
Thank you, Zach. Love the optimism. We'll speak to you in qualifying a little later on. Track dominance, Antonelli and Leclerc. There's a lot more where Antonelli has face over Charles Leclerc so far.
Interestingly, the third sector is really where I noticed that the The Mercedes seems to be sliding around a lot less than the Ferrari by the end of the lap. I just want to get a little bit kinder on its tyres, rear tyres, and that's helping them there. Otherwise, I'd be surprised to see that usually in the swimming pool section, especially the Ferrari, we've all heard, has a lot of downforce, and that should be helping them there. So, yeah, surprised to see Antonelli holding track dominance through that part compared to them.
So, 24 minutes to go of this session. Out on track at the moment, Alonso and Perez, Lindblad, Albon and Lawson. We just saw Albon in the runoff at Sandoval. Raced all in the garage.
Awesome. Ads. Love to see it. Huge. Love the ads. Love your work, ads. Absolutely love the work. Gotta love the work. Got to love the work. Kimi Antonelli, though, at the top of the session, 113.1 over Charles Leclerc. Of course, it is George Russell in position 3 with Oscar Piastri in position 4. As people now starting to make their way back into pit lane. Now, the most running we've seen on the soft compound tyres so far as I know, it is Charles Leclerc, who's done 20 laps on the soft compound tyre, is now in pit lane. Kimi Antonelli has come out on a brand new set of softs. We've got George Russell out there on a brand new set of softs as well. Oscar Piastri's done 14 laps on those soft compound tyres. Max Verstappen, 13 laps. Hamilton, 20 laps. So a few race runs going on there in the early part of this session. But again, as far as I know, about 20 laps is the closest thing you're going to get to a race run on the soft compound tyres. But it does seem as if with these sort of track temperatures, again, the track temperature is about 31.2 degrees. So very interesting indeed. So at the moment, so those track temperatures will definitely be affecting the tyres in terms of the way that they're living at the moment. Lando Norris, 15 laps. We've got Bortoleto, 16 laps on his soft compound tyres, so he's just completed once more another lap around the Monaco Grand Prix circuit. Hadjar's out on a brand new set. Hulkenberg's out on a brand new set. We've got Ocon out on a brand new set. Gasly on a 14-lap old set of soft compound tyres. Liam Lawson on a 21-lap set of soft compound tyres, followed by Carlos Sainz, Alex Albon on a 15 and 16-lap set of soft compound tyres. So both Williams there deciding to do a bit of a race run on the softs. Then it is Behrman on a brand new set. Lindblad on a old set, 17 laps. Colapinto on 15 laps. Perez on a slightly rotated set of soft compound tyres, and it is Valtteri Bottas on a set of 11-lap old soft compound tyres. So far, everybody has run that soft tyre, but will we see anybody possibly trying the medium compound tyres? Again, qualifying is about 4 p.m. local time in Monaco, so the track will cool off a little bit. Again, a lot more rubber will go down. We do have F2 sprint race still to come as well. That's coming up in, I think, about an hour's time from now. So very interesting to see what happens there. So yeah, 30.7 degrees. So it's dropped nearly half a degree already. So that will definitely change the track conditions. The top 3 now on a brand new set of softs. As Bortoleto as well has just changed on to a brand new set of soft compound tyres. We'll see what happens there for himself as we head back to live coverage.
Free practice in Monaco, and for Liam Lawson, save of the day. Wow.
It looks more dramatic here.
It certainly was. He has been having an adventure and a half through that swimming pool section and avoiding the barriers. Well done to him. Back on track, back live, on board with Kimi Antonelli.
As now my internet decides to die. Love to see it. Gotta love to see a good old internet die. Oh, come on. Well, that's just silly. Why would you change over to 5G when 5G doesn't work? That just doesn't make any sense to me. Make that make sense, actually. Make it. Make it freaking make sense. Because I don't think it makes sense. To be honest, the internet hasn't been too bad today. I don't think it's crashed today. This is like the first time. And it's my luck because this is literally like the third time I've streamed today. And it's on a F1 stream. Or the main event, more or less, as I'd call it. The main event stream, of course. Of course. The main event stream always has to have a crash. And it can't go without crashing. It just can't. It just can't. It'll come back. It just takes like 2 or 3 minutes. I think I'd also know if my internet went down. But, okay. Like that was silly. I don't know why I said that. I think I'd know if my stream went down on my, because like my camera would start just go wee, and I'd know. So I think I'm still live. I hope. Just use without internet. I really don't want to try and log in. Why would I want to try and log in? Wow. Oh, hello. Is it back? It's back. I think. I hope. I wish. It's back. See? Told you. Told you it always comes back. It always comes back for a part 2. Maybe not. Touche. Touche, my friend. Touche. Definitely a touche moment. Definitely a touche moment. It always comes back. Trust. Trust. Trust the process. Trust the frickin' process. Always. Always comes back. Always comes back. Trust. Trust the frickin' process, bro. Trust the frickin' process. It always. It never dies for a long period of time. It always has its comeback stance moment. When I say always, I mean 98% of the time. 98%.
Losing time as he goes, another 2 tenths in the second sector.
And it's also a bit depressing that it's lagging again.
Not going to be the fastest lap of the session so far. Whilst Hamilton struggles somewhat, Max Verstappen on his latest lap is the same 3 tenths down than Antonelli through the first sector. Bortoleto goes 5th fastest. Hamilton goes 2nd fastest, made up a little bit in the final part of the lap, and 3 tenths behind Kimi Antonelli. Here's Max Verstappen next to cross the line, and does so 5th fastest only.
I'm surprised at the huge gaps that we have compared to Antonelli's time, but seeing Bortoletto's time just over a second away gives me confidence that others just haven't hooked the lap up. They haven't done the lap. Leclerc pops up the second with a 13.0 finally, 3 tenths away, but most certainly in time has lost a bit of that juice that it has at the start.
I can't forget that Kimi lost 2 tenths in the last sector. If you go it together, that's a 12.5. Over half a second. It's really, really impressive.
12 compares really well with FP3 last year, which was a 1:10.9 at the end of a regulation cycle. This is at the beginning of a regulation.
We do have a yellow flag out on circuit, and that is a stopped car of Ollie Bearman with damage. So Ollie Bearman has been in the barrier at the top of Casino Square, and red flag has immediately been brought out. Ollie Bearman saying he is okay, but that is going to be a bit of a problem for Mr. Bearman. We'll get so that is actually on the exit of Beau Rivage, as you make your run up towards turn 3 and into Casino Square, just before you drop. So that's at probably the highest point of the circuit. Of course, there is quite a bit of elevation on this circuit. But very interesting indeed. 14 minutes and 20 seconds to go. That means we will get about a 6-minute extension to this session. So depending on how long this session actually runs for, how long this red flag runs for, will be the time that we get on the extension to this session. We just ticked under now. 13 minutes to go left in this session. Now we're running to this much of a schedule here that I'm due off air in 33 minutes. That might be a problem. that definitely might be a problem. George Russell slow at the top of the Casino Square. Oh, yikes! And that is a good POV of Ollie Pearman going straight in the wall.
Not that Russell was.
That was crazy. So he's gotten offline on the marbles on the outside of the circuit. He's gotten offline on the dust on the marbles, and it has caught him out. And that spat him sideways and into the Armco on the right-hand side, which will be a bit of a problem for himself. But we're under red flag here in FP3 with just over 12 minutes to go and possibly an extension.
Yeah, in Monaco, and they've got these massive cranes everywhere as well to do exactly that.
Yeah, exactly. How quickly is that?
Yeah.
Cars off the track already.
It's impressive.
Yeah, there need to be as well. We've got a session to try and get resumed as well. On board was Charles Leclerc in the garage, but we can go on board once again. And look at how quickly the marshal gets the yellow flag out there. There's Ollie making the contact. By the time the Mercedes is on the scene, the marshal is already waiting. George with an understandable reaction to it. So he's gone too wide. The camber and the dust has just left him with no grip at the rear to make that turn in.
Yeah, you're right. Jensen's right. We need the onboard of Behrman. Because George is he's quickly getting onto the racing line as he gets closer to the apex of the corner, of course, and but there's nowhere else he can go. He can't disappear when you're at that part of the track. And he's already had a Cadillac overtake him, and you're desperately trying to look in the right-hand mirror to see where another car's coming, and it takes two in that scenario. I think Behrman realizes there's a car on the inside. Oh, we're going to see fun now. Still the off-board shot. Yeah, ideally for Behrman, you want to start drifting over to the left a little bit more before you start to apex.
Sorry, guys. Still talk to me.
Are you okay?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, guys. I'm so sorry. I did not say that, but I'm so sorry.
Okay, we'll get it fixed for Bobby, Ali. As long as you're okay.
I was going to say, actually, as he's making his way up towards the crest, there is a bump, and you can see the car unsettled a bit by the bump. Whether he's in the wrong place for that bump at that moment, it is another matter. But I think it made a contribution to what happened.
I think being slightly offline, the bump may be bigger and something he hasn't experienced before, and that's what's really caught him out. Looking at the corner analysis of turn 10, so this is the New York chicane. You see Antonelli's able to brake a little bit later than Leclerc and just hang on to that speed the whole way through the corner.
3 tenths in one corner. It's impressive.
But when we were watching it live, Jensen, we both looked at each other because the direction change in that part was so impressive. He's got it completely on the right line as well. The thing is, and the difficulty with this track is the repeatability. Just because you can do it once doesn't mean you're going to definitely do it again in Q3, as his final sector proved as well. He couldn't, so far, on his best lap, repeat what he had done earlier on. And that's just what this place is like. So almost impossibly hard to get the perfect lap. You basically never will.
Yeah, and also your mood is completely different when you go into qualifying. You've got more adrenaline, more excitement, so things change. You tighten up in certain situations.
Freddie Collins, down to you.
Yes, they're very noisy, but not yet busy, heavily and crafty. All the cars you can see fired up, all the mechanics in front waiting to release the car. Everyone is looking at a screen for restart time. They cannot go until we get a restart time. So it is very much hurry up wait here, and as soon as it happens, as soon as we see that time on the screen, this pit lane is going to get very, very busy indeed. So we're not sure when it's going to happen, neither of the teams, but they're all desperate to get the final few laps of this qualifying session in to try and get that perfect lap together, like you say. So I'm not sure that we're going to get it in the time that I'm here with the Prof Day, but if we did, you can only imagine, and this is what happens in qualifying. That's why cars have run early in this session. We don't normally see the second soft tyre go on with close to 30 minutes of the session remaining. The reason it's going on early, and it's benefited Kimi Antonelli, as we spoke about, is he's got that clear track, he's got the run done before the red flag, because in these final, I guess, 10 minutes of qualifying, it is going to be very, very tricky to find the optimum pace on track and get that lap in to try and get it done. So I'm not sure what's going to happen at the time the next week in Newcroft. You're probably filmed as much as I can, but it's going to be hectic in this split when it happens, and hopefully we can bring it to you.
Thanks ever so much, Bernie. The race director has been inspecting the guardrail, the Armco, on the exit at Massenet after that crash with Ollie Behrman in the Haas. And that's why we're taking a little bit longer, I think, to get going again. The track is clear, but I'm being told by the FIA that the guardrail damage being inspected on site by the race director. We're overlooking the pit lane. We can't see, obviously, Massenet, and we're watching shots of the pit lane. So I don't know if the race director's still there or not. If anyone stood near Casino Square and you want to message me, please do, and we'll find out what is going on there. But for the teams, they want to get out and they want to try and get another run in. Alex Albon has just come on the radio and said, right, quick release here, don't let anyone get in the way. And to be honest, if you're down that end of the pit lane, well, Williams kind of in the middle, that's not a bad place to be here. If you are Mercedes, you might be stuck right at the back of a queue and not much chance to get a lap in. And for Kimi Antonelli, the last classified finisher in Monaco in 2025, after he hit the barrier at the chicane in Q1, broke the rear of the car, started 15th, finished 18th, had a pretty horrible Monaco. He might have returned 12 months on, well, definitely as a championship leader, and now very much a contender for pole.
Yeah, I agree. And this is the perfect practice for qualifying, isn't it? They've been sat in the garage for a while. The tension, the adrenaline's rising. A lot of pressure just to get this lap in and really feel what the car is and know what they can do with the car around here. So yeah, this is really key for all of them to understand qualifying in a couple of hours.
It's amazing, isn't it, looking at Kimi Antonelli, the difference, as you say, probably that turnaround from last year, the race to forget for him last season here, and he crashed and wasn't quick enough. To come back here really goes to show what confidence, leading the championship, won multiple races, that confidence is what you need for a circuit like this. And I mean, on paper, you would have said that a racing driver pretty much fresh out of go-karting would have been in their element on a track like this, but it didn't work for him last year. Change a car and a whole rest of season to work on what went wrong here last year. Coming here with that wave of confidence is seeing him through now. And what a turnaround from the team as well, because they looked like they really weren't in the game yesterday.
Yeah, really impressive. And for me, it's the Turn 1 performance on new tyres that's impressive. You know, he's putting in 2 to 3 tenths into most people out there because he has that confidence when he first hits the brake into Turn 1 into the centre block that the car is going to do what he wants it to do.
So, just slightly distracted by some news. Session's going to resume at 13:26, 1 minute and 10 seconds. Now we've got a session resuming time. Now the cars can leave the garages. Hello to you. Nice to see you waving. Nice to see the fans. Can we see the cars coming out? Thank you very much. Because that was actually a bit more important to see who actually has made it to the front of the queue. And we've still got 50 odd seconds before the light goes green. But this is important because some are going to get a lap in here and some aren't.
Well, we have 4.5 minutes. It's going to start in 35 seconds now. So yeah, I think everyone's going to get a lap in. It's just whether it's the first or the second.
Are they? They'll stagger it, won't they? Kind of leave 7 seconds if they can, 10 seconds before they across the line to get on the track.
And then you've got the inevitable car park down at Restcast before they decide to get
great
going.
practice for qualifying.
Especially for Q1, especially. Yeah.
But this might happen at the end of Q1.
Yeah.
This is actually a good simulation for what might happen at the end.
But then can you learn from it though? That's the thing. It's just a mess. Whatever. You just got to deal with what you get given, I guess.
Out they come, and Cadillac at that end, the exit end of the pit lane, with Perez and Bottas first onto the track. Franco Colapinto almost shoving the Cadillac along. He's on a new set of soft tyres, Colapinto, because of the damage it caused to his rear wing. He's a bit out of sync with everyone else. Right at the back of the queue is Lewis Hamilton in the Ferrari. The car's streaming up towards Massenet. The fight is on now to prepare your tyres, to get them into some sort of temperature window. You haven't got 2 laps to do it, you've only got the 1. Get your brakes up to temperature as well, and find a gap.
Often when this happens, when you have a short break of sort of 10 minutes, the circuit is slower. It does take a little bit of a setback, which I've found in qualifying many times before. But what do you see?
Even for driving, whether they get the fastest time or not, or improve this, it's the drivers getting their eye in one more time, isn't it?
Sometimes even I found as well when I was racing that even in red flag situations, you've got recovery vehicles on the circuit driving around and debris to sweep up, and it just creates that only for a lap or two, the extra dust and grime that goes on side, and you feel that from inside the car.
And they only have a lap or two.
Sounds like a racing driver excuse. Yeah, I've used it many times, but I was always convinced that was the case.
Look at that.
Do you actually have a book that you will keep between yourselves? Great excuses.
Sorry, it's secret code. Racing driver code.
Come on, driven an F1 car too. Can't let me in on the book. Yeah, whatever. There's only
off to find his book.
Off to find the book. No, he's already said sorry. The book won't help him out, and they'll examine exactly what went on there. There was a bump. He was a bit far out to the right-hand side. There is damage, and I hope they can fix it in time for qualifying. 2 minutes to go in this session, then, and we are on some laps, making his way up Massenet, Gabriel Bortoleto. Oscar Piastri, Esteban Ocon, also in the hats. Here's Charles Leclerc making his way through the swimming pool chicane. He's going to go for a proper flat-out lap in a moment.
His brakes are horrendous.
I don't think his brakes are at anywhere near a temperature that he wants them to be at, but let's see.
He can still do another lap.
He can, yeah. To get them warmed up.
Yeah.
It's a fair point because he's got 1 minute 30 on the clock.
As now Charles Leclerc ticks over the line, and we're back to green flag here at Monaco. Everybody is out on circuit except Kimi Antonelli. He's still in pit lane, according to our timing screen here. So Kimi Antonelli has pulled back into pit lane. Charles Leclerc, Lewis Hamilton, and of course it is George Russell in position 4. With just over 1 minute to go, everybody now setting lap times. Max Verstappen making his run out of the Grand Hotel. Turn 6 out through now turn 7 through turn 8. And now in towards the tunnel. Biggest point of the lap. And probably the hardest point is braking for the chicane. One of many chicanes, the Novell chicane on the other side, then make you run down through towards the back, through turn 12 out through to turn 13. Very high speed is to back. This is Gabriel Bortoleto now getting his lap underway. His one and only qualifying lap. You did hear a few moments ago there, Sky Sports F1 saying that normally when you do get one of these fast periods of the session. Oh, and that is a car off down there towards turn number 1. That is one of the Williams off the road. Bit of a problem there.
Curtail people behind him, I would imagine. Max Verstappen might have come across a yellow flag there.
Anyone that crosses the line now, the clock is ticked, the checker flag's out, so it doesn't matter. But Charles Leclerc just made it through. I mean, it's at the brakes that is hindering him there once again. The rear was all over the place, snapping up halfway through.
That looked like Lewis Hamilton's Ferrari as he got on the power there. You know, the slide away. Well, that was behaving the same.
That was happening on the brakes, so towards the apex. So he's really
really not happy with the feeler under his left foot. And that's not the kind of memory you want to take in to qualifying as your last lap in FP3. The way the car behaved there, in many ways, you'd have to say perhaps it wasn't ideal to send them out for this last lap and a half.
Verstappen pushing but not improving, and the track maybe settled down a little bit and not offering up a chance to improve. We're going to have a few questions unanswered going into qualifying here. Max Verstappen will cross the line and stay 5th fastest. Does so. Kimi Antonelli by 0.3 of a second with the quickest time here. Hadjar stays where he is, an 8th fastest. Sainz did improve to go 12th fastest, and Valtteri Bottas went ahead of Alonso. Stroll back in the garage. Kimi Antonelli's dad on the wall by the pits, watching his son out on track. Fastest in free practice 3 for the man who leads the championship and took 4 poles in a row. Had to settle for the front row in Canada, and still
very interesting to see if, of course, Kimi Antonelli can go 5 in a row. Of course, Kimi Antonelli can go 5 in a row. That would very much boost his confidence in many ways coming into qualifying, as Charles Leclerc, big lock up in towards the Nouvelle chicane through turns 10 and 11. And again, big talking point this weekend about the braking points coming into the Nouvelle chicane. So that ends FP3. Not really any qualifying runs there at the end of free practice 3, but we will get a few practice starts, what looks to be from Lewis Hamilton on the soft compound tyres, and does so quite nicely. Not a bad start there from the man of which is Lewis Hamilton, making his run now up through towards the back. There, so very nicely done. This look a replay of what happened to Alex Albon. This is him actually going straight on down towards turn number 1. Wanted to go for turn 1, but probably realised that I might end up in a Tech Pro on the right-hand side down there. And definitely not the rotation he would have wanted. Probably a bit of over-rotation from Charles Leclerc from his point of view. This is Lando Norris, the reigning world champion, cutting the chicane. And not happy with the Ferrari.
My way, I did on purpose.
That, I would only imagine, is a good old racing driver's excuse, possibly.
Norris exaggerated into the lot and said 15, and make it look like a looking in.
Now, who do you believe in that situation? Hamilton or Norris? The guy that's won 1 championship or 7 championships? I would say 7 championships, as we take a look at this cinematic shot of Charles Leclerc locking that right front brake in towards the Nouvelle chicane. The cars now make their way back towards pit lane. And in doing so, FP3 ends there. That looks like a very scary shot. That, wow. I think I'd get sick from looking there. So, at the end of FP3, though, it is Kimi Antonelli who tops FP3 over Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton. So, Ferraris have been knocked off after FP2, quite interestingly. Charles Leclerc, then it's Lewis Hamilton in position 3. George Russell, then the Dutchman Max Verstappen in position 5. It's Oscar Piastri, then the Brazilian of Gabriel Bortoleto. It's Isaac Hadjar, Lando Norris, and Nico Hülkenberg in that Audi. So, quite surprisingly, both Audis inside the 10 there. So, very good in terms of their confidence coming into the weekend. Esteban Ocon, then it's Carlos Sainz, Pierre Gasly, Ollie Behrman, Liam Lawson, Alex Albon, Arvid Lindblad, Sergio Perez, Franco Colapinto, and Valtteri Bottas in the Cadillacs. Both Cadillacs P18 and P20. Both Williams outside the top 10. Both Haas's outside the top 10. And both RB's outside the top 10. Followed by then, of course, both Alpines running a Mercedes engine this season. Both Aston Martins, of course, outside the top 10 with Fernando Alonso and Lance Stroll. And not to jinx it, but they looked quick in the early part of FP3. That comes to an end at the end of this one. To run you through, though, the rest of the weekend, we've got qualifying live tonight, my time, from 11:15, but I will not be streaming it live. I'll be live from 8:45 for qualifying. Then, of course, the Grand Prix tomorrow. Getting live on air from 8:45 for a 9:15. Getting underway Monday. So that was what was a very intriguing qualifying session for the. It wasn't qualifying. It was FP3, and must I say, it was a good FP3 session, and it really gave us some sort of information. Of course, if you'd like to catch all the highlights action, and you couldn't be bothered watching this whole stream, I have got all of the action from this session. I will be editing it, and I'm hoping I can release it today or tomorrow, along with qualifying as well. So that wraps up our FP3 coverage. We'll be live from qualifying from 8:45. Check it, of course, on my YouTube channel, and you can sync up with me live then. But until now, it is bye-bye until qualifying, when we get qualifying for Monaco Grand Prix.